I'm Erlinda Patterson. It's so good to have you here. I'm so excited today. Welcome to Community Pulse, your television program at home. As you know, we have some exciting guests here on this television program for you every week. So please keep an eye on this show, your show, Community Pulse. Well, today is an exciting day for me. I am retiring. Yes, I'm retiring. After 21 years of doing television hosting, I am going to leave. Yes, I'm going to go play with the grandkids, go to the football games, and all kinds of good fun. But I have some exciting news for you. Show will continue. Community Pulse is going to continue. It's going to evolve into the future. And I'm proud to introduce to you our new host, Carmen Palmer. Carmen, thank you for being here.
Oh, Erlinda, thank you so much for having me. I am so excited and blessed to be here.
Oh, you're going to be great.
Oh, thank you.
You are so well-rounded. You know all about the city and the outlying cities as well.
Yes, I've been a resident here for 10 years now and have just met so many wonderful, supportive people as yourself to kind of mentor me and show me around Rialto, and it's all been just an amazing adventure. 10 years has gone by so quickly, but I'm definitely ready to step up to a new challenge.
Well, wonderful, wonderful. And I know that our viewers at home are going to be happy to have you. I foresee that the future is going to be just as exciting as it was before, but even more. We have a new youthful vision for the future. What do you see happening in the future?
Well, I would definitely love to introduce artists and give them a
Good.
platform to speak on. And I'm just so amazed at how many people are so talented in this community. And they really have a message throughout their artwork. And I would love for the entire community to see more of their work and get to know them, and for us to claim them as Rialto's own, and bring also the informative portion of the show that you've always been able to so aptly provide, and just highlight hometown heroes in different age categories. And just rising up to the occasion, if you will, on something that you have already set in motion. Now we're just going to expand it just a little bit more.
Absolutely.
And
it's time. It is time. Well, Carmen, I'm so happy that you're here and willing to take up this challenge, and I hand you the keys to Community Pulse.
Well, they're big shoes to fill, but thank you so much for your graciousness and your mentoring.
Thank you. All right, now, this is Carmen Palmer, your new host. Thank you for everything that you've done for us. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for joining us again for Rialto's Leaders. Rialto's Leaders is a program that provides you some awareness about your community's leadership.
I'm Erlinda Patterson, and I want to welcome you to Rialto's Leaders. This program is especially for you so that you can know who the leaders of this town are.
Hello viewers, I'm Erlinda Patterson and this is Rialto's Leaders. Bienvenidos. As the same. Hello, I'm Erlinda Patterson, and welcome to Community Pulse.
Hola, ¿cómo están? Soy Erlinda Patterson. Bienvenidos al programa Pulso de la Comunidad.
Welcome to Community Pulse. I'm your host, Carmen Palmer, and I'm so excited about today's show. Whether you've given life to a teen or have a teen in your life, this show will resonate with you. So press that record button because we have some great information coming to you. Today we have with us Ray Lozano, who is a drug and alcohol prevention specialist and youth speaker. He's been doing this since 1986, so I would consider him definitely a highlight in the community for someone to be giving this vital information to our teens. Welcome, Ray.
Thanks so much. I'm so happy to be here today. This is pretty exciting for me.
Wonderful. I read that your mission is to give teens the information that they need so that they can teach others to do the same.
Right. That's one of the things that I do, and I go out and present this all across the United States. And what I want to do is just give teens good information, understandable information, so they can talk to their friends. So it's not a don't do drugs kind of message. It's just a lot of information.
I see. Wonderful. And your demographic is from 14 to 18, is that correct?
It's really branching out right now because drug use is starting to go down so quickly, like the first time that kids use drugs and alcohol. For alcohol, it's age 11 and a half in Southern California, and marijuana is now age 12. So I'm starting to work a lot with 9 and 10-year-olds when it comes to the prevention side.
My goodness, this is so scary, especially being a parent of a nearly 9-year-old, and I have an 18-year-old as of yesterday. And the conversation, how do you start it? When do you start it?
Started early. I started with my kids when they were little, and it's not a conversation, it's just playing games with them and doing activities. And all kids have these things that are called teaching moments, where you can stick a little piece of information inside their head and then back up. And so I would use a lot of different things for my kids. Like we would watch cops on TV, and the car would be chased by the police officer, and I'd hit pause on the TV, and I'd say, son, what do you think's going to happen? And he's probably 10 at the time, and he's like, well, he's probably not going to stop, and he's probably going to get tasered. I'm like, okay, let's see what happens. So then I'd hit play. Sure enough, he doesn't stop, and the guy gets tasered. Well, I just taught my son some information right there. So that's how I work with parents to get information across to kids, because you just don't want to sit there and go, don't do drugs because that information doesn't stick with them.
Right. I know there's plenty of times when my daughter's getting out of the car or as she's leaving the house, and and I'm the one saying, honey, make good choices, like on Freaky Friday, and even from the back of her head I can see her eyes rolling like, Mom, stop it already.
Yeah.
But they kind of think at some point that they got this.
Yeah.
They know, they have this life down and they're going to make good decisions, but
yeah, it's tough. Yeah, it's tough for them to make good decisions at that point because they feel like their brain's fully developed, but it's not yet. Not till about age 21 to 23. And then that part of the brain kicks in, and making decisions are a lot different after that point.
Which brings up a great point that you make on your videos about the synapses of the brain. Can you share that with the viewers?
Oh, yeah. The way our brain develops, for human beings, it develops from the back to the front. And so the very first part is our vision, and then the middle part right here is muscle control, and the last part is decision making. So what happens is when kids use that, or when they use drugs, in between the muscle and the decision-making part of the brain developing, it kind of short-circuits it. But the thing is, we have these synapses that hold information, and inside our head we have a reward button, and whatever hits that reward button, the brain loves. So if parents can find that reward button inside their kid's head and hit that button, then kids become addicted to the family or addicted to what you're doing as a family. So I see that happen time and time again.
Now, your method of delivering the message to the kids. I know you have a comedic background.
Oh, yeah.
So I read that it's kind of like medicine in a spoonful of sugar.
Yeah.
And then I was thinking about it for a while. I said, you know what? It is, to me, it's no laughing matter with a punchline. And that really does resonate with kids. If you give them something to if you're just spitting out facts and facts and facts, it becomes tedious to them and boring. They have that off switch. But with making it funny to where you're either coming up with an episode of what happened to somebody else at what have you, or to pertain it to their own lives and laugh about it, is really a light way of presenting the information.
Definitely, because I don't want kids sitting in my audience thinking, I wish I was on drugs right now to make it through this,
Absolutely.
So what I have found is, comedy works the best. And you'd have to see the way I present it, because whenever somebody asks, what do you do? And I say, I talk about drugs and alcohol, I can always see that, that's boring. But it's pretty amazing. The Dallas newspaper a couple of years ago said it was like watching George Lopez present drug and alcohol information. And I get a lot of kids that come up to me and go, do you know who Fluffy is? The comedian?
Right.
And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, you're just like him. And I'm like, that's terrific, man. That makes me happy because I know that they're paying attention and they're listening. And then a lot of times what I see are kids telling other kids, hey, be quiet, I want to hear this. And so it's funny, stick a piece of information in there, go to some funny stuff. And so I've been working on it a long time, and I think I have found a successful recipe for presenting drug and alcohol information.
Oh, absolutely, and I love it. I was so entertained and educated at the same time, just on the few segments that I was able to watch, and the response that you're getting post engagement has been what?
Oh yeah, it's been crazy. I'm always doing surveys with the kids, and I'm always having a lot of invitations. But we're in the middle of the year, and I've already done 156 trainings this year alone. And I usually hit right around 380 presentations a year. So, so quite a bit. And, a lot of requests all the time.
But I'm sure that has to hit you in the heart and encourage you to keep going.
Oh, yeah.
When you get that text that said, you changed my life today, or you changed the life of my kid today. Thank you so much for taking the time. Yeah,
I just had that text on Tuesday, a couple days ago. And one of the teachers says, I was talking to one of the kids about what they're going to do after school, and they said that I really inspired them, because there's a portion that I do where I bring in nurses and they talk about working in the medical field and some of the stuff that they've seen. And this student was like, I never considered going in the medical field, but it looks so interesting now. And so that's one of the things that we do. And I've had the text where the girl's like, I had to break up with my boyfriend because he's smoking weed, thank you for that. And so I get a lot of those encouragements all the time. So I can't tell you how happy that makes me to know that kids are learning through humor like that.
That's great. And I'm sure it also blows your mind as to how ill-informed they are by their friends about drugs and alcohol as well.
Right. And again, mine is non-biased information. Here it is, And it's, kids, it's like wearing a helmet. Kids can choose to wear a helmet or not wear a helmet. They have that choice. Same thing with my information. So I come and I just present it because kids want to know, why do I stare when I smoke weed? Why is it easier to talk to girls when I'm drunk? Why can I do this? Or why do I feel stronger? Or why do I get hot? Or why, I had one kid ask me, crazy, he goes, man, when I take this one drug, I just start crying. Why does that happen? I can answer that. And so that has been, I guess, my best selling point is I just answer a lot of those questions that kids have.
And the difference between trying drugs and alcohol in a youth brain as to adult use is completely different.
Yes, yeah. The example I always give is like if you were baking a cake, okay? So you got the eggs and the milk and the water in there, and you put it in the pan and you stick in the oven. 10 minutes later, you pull it out and you mix it up and you stick it back in the oven, then pull it out, mix it up, and stick it back in the oven. After 40 minutes, you're going to have cake? Well, you'll have cake, but it'll be kind of weird, right? Part of it's going to be burnt, and some of it's going to be uncooked. Well, the same thing with the human brain. When a youth is growing up, that's when their brain is baking and figuring out how it's going to work and how it's not going to work. So when you introduce drugs into a brain under the age of 21, it's like mixing that cake up. You'll have cake, but it's going to be a little bit tougher. And in this, man, how tough it is out there to get a job, you got to really be on top of your toes for a lot of these jobs. And yeah, introducing drugs, sometimes you have trouble reading or trouble remembering stuff or trouble focusing. You don't need that on a job.
Exactly. And I know that there has been a link also to premature use of alcohol and drugs also leads to premature disabilities.
Mm-hmm.
So their bodies are breaking down a lot faster because I guess the drugs and alcohol and abuse to a young body kind of starts to break down later on in life.
Yeah, it does. And so when you see kids using drugs early in life, it has an effect later in life. Mm-hmm. And I talk about that every now and then, but not that much because kids at 18 don't think about being 50. You know what I mean? I didn't when I was that age.
Hey, 50 is not old.
No, that's right. Yeah, correct. And but they don't think that far, but they want to know the immediate stuff. So I talk a lot about the immediate things that they're going to see. Why do they have trouble breathing, or why do they catch a cold and it hangs on and hangs on and hangs on. Mm-hmm. So all of my information is, majority of my information is geared for youth.
Perfect. And so what do you do to keep your information cutting edge?
There's always new drugs coming out. I have a huge network all across the United States of people that I work with in law enforcement, the White House, different nonprofit organizations. And so literally today, I have probably already received about 8 different pieces of information all across the United States. And now even international information is coming to me. So people are like, what do you think about this? Did you read this? Did you see that? And they want to be part of what I'm doing. And so it's been great. So I get tons of reports every day. I work through them. I read them. That's like my pastime is reading drug information. So yeah.
Perfect. As a parent, I know that, again, it is pivotal to have a third party involved in the relationship that you have with your children in order to get the right kind of information and to not make it sound like, and there comes a time with children that they just turn a deaf ear to their parents.
Exactly.
They're like, stop already. Yeah. So what you do is absolutely pivotal in the development of our children.
Right.
And on behalf of all parents, thank you so much for going above and beyond to do what it is that you do.
Oh, you're welcome.
What inspired you to start the program in the first place?
Boy, thinking back, my brother, when I was age 5, I came from a family that was crazy when it came to drugs and alcohol. I don't know if you'd call it crazy, but they a lot of drinking, a lot of drugs, a lot of stuff like that. And my brother was actually going to jail, and I was there at age 5. And just before he was sent away, he put his handcuffs, arms around me, and he hugged me and whispered in my ear. He said, little brother, don't do drugs, man. Drugs are bad. Don't do drugs. And that's the first thing that went into my head. I didn't know what it meant, but I thought, I'm not going to do drugs. And what ended up happening is I just saw people doing drugs and doing crazy stuff, and even in our own family. And what happened in high school is I saw a kid do some crazy stuff, and I just wanted answers for that. Why did he tear up that house when he was drunk? And that's started my career right there, is just trying to find out these answers. Why do people do what they do? You know, because we all have that. Why does the guy talk louder when he gets drunk? Or why does the girl get more flirty when she's intoxicated? Or why do you have trouble walking a straight line? So people have questions for that, and yeah, I've gotten to the point where I can answer all those questions now.
Well, that is awesome, and thank you so much again for sharing a part of yourself, a part of the story, and being out there to help. Now, what are some of the things that we can do at home as parents to not have our kids fall into that? I know it's impossible,
Right.
but to help them make better decisions when
Right.
it comes to drugs and alcohol.
Yeah, I have a lot of stuff on my website that people can go to and get information off of that. But one of the things that I always encourage parents to do is ask questions. Whenever I work with kids in probation or kids that have been in trouble, I'll ask them, did your parents talk with you or did they talk at you? And a majority of the times the kids will say, well, they talked at me. I didn't have an opportunity to share why this happened. So I always encourage parents, ask a lot of questions. You know, what do your friends think about drugs? What do you think about drugs? As a family, what do you think we think about drugs? You know, what are your friends saying about marijuana? What are your friends saying about alcohol? Sometimes it's kind of tough to hear those things as a parent, but that's the only way you're going to be able to get that information across to kids. And what I tell parents is whoever asks the questions guides the conversation, just like what's happening here. You're, just by your questions, you know, you're determining where we're going to go in this. Same thing with parents. Ask questions and figure out where you want that conversation to go. Because I see this happen a lot. A kid will come home drunk or intoxicated. Mom and dad want to fix it right then. And of course you would want to, you know. So you stay up for the next 3 hours talking about alcohol and how bad alcohol is and all that kind of stuff. And it just kind of bounces off kids' heads because they, even though you're speaking English, they're not hearing English a lot of times, you know that. And and so what I tell them is if your child comes home intoxicated, sit there with them, let them sleep, make sure that they're going to be okay and that they don't, you know, choke during the course of the evening. And then the next day, take them out to their favorite breakfast place, you know, and buy them breakfast and sit there and have a conversation with them.
So strangling is not the answer.
Yeah, not so much anymore. Maybe in the 60s. Okay. Yeah, not now. Yeah.
Something happens between kids in primary school making all of their promises during Red Ribbon Week.
Right.
Then there's middle school.
Uh-huh.
They're a little more curious about the things that adults are doing.
Right.
And then high school. What changes between 5th grade and 9th grade?
I think what changes is we stop giving kids information. And so what I've seen are kids that go to schools that continue the don't use drug message all the way through. They keep getting that. It's because you can't just do it one time. Don't do drugs. Yeah, we're not going to do drugs and expect that to last. So the thing is they need to continue to have drug and alcohol information that's appropriate for their age. When they're in elementary school, they don't need to know about, you know, being intoxicated and falling down and throwing up on yourself because that's not age appropriate. But they do need to understand that it's going to affect them. Then in middle school, it's a little bit stronger information than in high school. So one of the things is parents and teachers need to continue that drug-free message in their life.
And I love the fact that, and I wouldn't have thought so years ago, but I love the fact that you've never had a history, a negative history with drugs or alcohol.
Right.
And you still have this passion for getting the word out because of things that have happened in your young life.
Oh, yeah.
To do that, and the fact that you keep going and giving this message, and I'm sure that it's the positive rewards that keep you going.
Right.
The hearing that you help that one person, even if it's out of out of 130 students, that one person that it helps.
Yeah.
How does your family play a part in what you do? Because I'm sure they're very supportive.
Yeah, very supportive. My wife and my daughter and my son, they all love what I do. I try to involve them as much as I can. And they all have a non-use background as well. And so I remember one time my daughter, when she was in high school, was offered marijuana. And she goes, no, I'm not going to smoke that. And the kid goes, he tells her, well, it's never hurt anybody. And she goes, well, let me tell you the truth. And she started to do my whole presentation on that. Yeah. And so the kid was like, shut up, you know. But it was so funny. But yeah, I do come from a non-use background. Never been drunk, never smoked a cigarette or did weed. And I get that question a lot. Kids are like, well, how can you talk about it when you've never done it? And it's a real simple answer. You know, I don't need to hit my hand with a hammer to know it's going to hurt. And I've seen plenty of people hit their hand with a hammer to know, gosh, that's not a good way to go down that road. And so, so that's how I do it. And so my presentation is not experiential. It's not a testimony. Mine is information. So I'm not saying when I smoked weed this happened. So it's more information. So that's how I present it.
Amazing.
Thanks.
All of it. And God bless you on all of your ventures going forward. And it has just been amazing hearing all of the information that you have and the passion that you have behind it. Now, I know that starting with Teen Challenge, is that correct?
Oh yeah, I
In
used
the
to work
early
in
years?
residential treatment. Worked at Teen Challenge for a long time. Worked at different residential places, or 1 year sober living, or 29-day sober living places. And I realized I love that kind of work. I love working with individuals like that and having that light bulb go on in their head. But I see that I'm more designed to work on the prevention side, helping kids before they use.
That helplessness, that
Yeah.
feeling of helplessness that they have within inside them, or that place that never seems to be fulfilled unless
Right.
they're intoxicated, or how do you address that?
Yeah, sometimes kids feel like they can't fit in unless they're intoxicated, or they feel like they're not socializing unless they're smoking weed. So that's a long conversation or information that we get across. But one of the things that I let kids know is that you're not really socializing. What you're doing is smoking weed with other kids. Socialization is like what's happening here. You can take a kid that knows a lot about math, but you can stick them with a bunch of pilots and they can have a conversation with them. And that's socialization. It's not sitting around smoking weed. Even though it seems like that's what it is, you're just sitting around with other kids smoking weed. So we talk about socialization, we talk about conversation starters, we talk about all that kind of stuff in some of my longer presentations.
I see. And kids starting conversations with the parents, do you encourage that as
Oh,
well,
yeah.
or start that? Like, how do you open up the conversation to your parents that...
Yeah, most of the time it's parents to the kids. And so during my presentation, parents are always invited to attend. And my hope is, and what I've seen that's happened, is they'll be in the car and they'll go, oh man, what'd you think about what Ray said? And then that kind of starts the conversation right there.
Okay. And the information that's covered on the DVDs that you provide, what would one expect from?
Real simple information. It's just me in front of a whiteboard, and I'm just giving out the information that I do during my presentations. And so it's kind of designed to stop at a lot of places and go, wow, what do you think about that? Or what did you, does that make sense to you, what he's saying? Because I try to break it down. And so it's designed for that. It's designed to start a conversation. It's designed to give you information. Because a lot of times parents will say, I want to talk to my kids about drugs and alcohol, but I don't know what to say. So that's where the DVDs come in really handy, because you can watch them whenever you want and, get that information from those.
Great. And how would the DVDs be obtained?
You can go to my website. That's all my information is going to be on there. Super easy. It's just the www.ray, R-A-Y, Lozano, Lozano.com. Super easy to find. So my phone number, office number is on there. Email information is on there. And if they wanted to order the DVDs, those are on there as well.
Perfect. And for day-to-day inspiration, what do you use? What gets you up every day and gets you going?
What gets me up? Just I guess sometimes doing the impossible, things that people say that you can't do, and that has really resonated with me for a long time, because you get kids don't want to hear drug and alcohol information. Well, I found a way that they do. Parents don't know how to talk to their kids. Well, I found a way that they do. So I think it's doing the impossible and seeing these huge walls come down a lot of times, and then knowing that possibly that day I'm going to get that message from a kid or a student's going to go, wow, that was really good. Yeah, thanks so much for that,
Yeah, I know that one of the common mistakes that I make myself as a parent is that I think if I say it loud, then it's really getting through.
Yeah.
And she's already cut me off. She's already excused me from the room before I even finish my thought.
Right.
But I think if I say it louder,
that's
then
right.
maybe she'll hear me.
You're right there with a lot of parents. It's tough. It doesn't work that way, but sometimes it gets through. But just hope that all those little seeds that you're planting in your child's head, when they hit 21, 22, will turn into this forest of wisdom. So
because it's tough going through the transition, because I think we're growing with our kids. So,
Right.
so we tell them, don't touch the stove, don't touch this, don't touch drugs. When we get there, it's like, okay, that's a little too deep for me.
Yeah.
But it's all for their self-preservation. and to protect
Yeah,
them.
because we love them. We want to keep them safe, don't we?
Absolutely.
Those kids, yeah.
And you have how many?
I have two. Yeah, my son's in Sweden and my daughter is at the University of Redlands. So yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And well, thank you so much
Oh, this has been great.
for coming to our show, Community Pulse. And we definitely know how vital the teens are to the heartbeat of this entire community. And knowing that there's people out there like you telling their story, giving their great message, just makes this world an easier place as a parent to live. So
Thank
on
you
behalf
so
of
much.
everyone, I just want to ask you, when you go out and speak, how far in advance would a high school or any other venue have to book you?
Usually about 6 months, so I'm really booked all the time. But that doesn't mean don't call, because sometimes I have some dates that are open. So I do about 380 presentations a year. And so I'm always on the road, always doing this, and I travel both nationally and internationally speaking. So yeah, they can get a hold of me on my website, and we have a real quick turnaround time when we get those kind of questions.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for all of the information that you gave us today. I know it's going to help so many people in the community and beyond. And good luck to you in all of your ventures. The interview that you just witnessed with the multifaceted Ray Lozano, youth speaker extraordinaire and drug and alcohol prevention specialist, came with a message that was instilled in him at the young age of 5. Knowing that we are all born with extraordinary gifts and talents, what is the message that has been placed upon your mind, your heart, or your lips to share with your community? On behalf of everyone here at the Rialto Network and Community Pulse, I'm Carmen Palmer, encouraging you to turn positive words into action, then go forward and make a difference.